Florida becomes the first state in the nation to adopt the Phoenix Declaration. Okay. Now, what is this Phoenix Declaration? Where does it come from? Okay. Well, before we go any further. Oh, and by the way, I pulled this from the Florida Department of Education. So this is for real. Apparently, this is a framework. Okay. Or rather, it is an ideology, not so much a framework. So keep that in mind. Okay. Where does this Phoenix Declaration come from? Or Phoenix Doctrine? Both terms have been used. The Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, that Project 2025 that this current administration was saying that they had no part in when they were running for election, and now they're all for it. Yes, they are indeed in support of Florida adopting this Phoenix Declaration or Doctrine. Pause at your leisure. I won't even read it out loud. Good stuff. Just so you have an idea of what we're talking about. Okay, now let's look at the pillars really quick, or principles rather. Parental choice and responsibility asserts that parents are the primary educators and that funding should follow the child. Transparency and accountability requires schools to be fully open about curricula and student well being. Truth and goodness focuses on objective truth, interesting, and moves away from what it calls ideological fads, even more interesting. Cultural transmission emphasizes America's founding principles and Judeo Christian traditions. Highly interesting. Character formation prioritizes the cultivation of virtue, self discipline, and personal responsibility. Academic excellence favors proven content rich teaching methods over experimental ones. Again, interesting. Interesting terminology. Citizenship teaches civic virtue and the whole truth about America. Ugh, felt that in my stomach. While framing the nation as a source of good. Okay, let that sink in for a bit, right? All right. So if you're wondering what they mean by ideological fads, they mean any support for the LGBTQ community. They mean anything that they find woke or using critical race theory or diversity, equity, and inclusion, things like topics like that, topics that are supposed to include everybody, ideological fads, experimental teaching methods, any teaching that focuses on empathy, yes, and any kind of teaching that makes uh, Caucasian people feel bad. I laugh at that because the topics I just talked to you about, as we see again, uh, citizenship teaches civic virtue and the whole truth about America, right? They say that, but if they're excluding those aspects of America, they're not actually telling the whole truth. They don't even want any teaching for teachers or students involving a possibility that we live in a system that maybe favors one skin color over others. How is that the whole truth if you don't include things like that? And then again, the last part, framing the nation as a source of good. Before I go any further, I just want to say I like this country. I really do. I like the people in this country generally. I like the ideals that we strive for. And I do like that throughout our history, we've had many heroes that we can look up to, regardless of their race or gender or sexuality or culture or anything. That's what's really great about this country is we have so many different kinds of people that have been people that we can look up to. I don't think a lot of other countries have such a variety. But at the same time, right, there are many details I wish I had known as a kid growing up, K through 12, that I only knew later on in life. The Reconstruction era and then Jim Crow after that, basically kind of getting rid of the Reconstruction era, would be an example. Our iffy involvement in other countries' affairs over the decades would be cool to know too. My point is, nobody is all good, and this country specifically is not. We have a history of a lot of good, but we also have a history continuing through now of a lot of bad as well. You identify the bad to see how you can improve, not to shame people, unless, of course, they are being particularly shameful. Okay, okay. Let that sink in. Now, I want you to read the good and the bad, both sides of the argument. Supporters, including the Florida Department of Education and conservative advocacy groups, argue the doctrine provides empowerment for parents. It reinforces the legal right of parents to direct children's upbringing and education. Moral foundation. Proponents believe it restores a necessary focus on character and timeless virtues that have been lost in modern schooling. With that, I have to say, what timeless virtues? This one right here I find very interesting. Educational competition. By supporting the idea that money follows the child, this is what they actually mean. It encourages a marketplace of schools, charter, private, and homeschool, which can drive up quality. So, in other words, moving away from public schools into more private schools. Interesting. What do we know about private schools? And civic pride. It seeks to foster a positive sense of national identity and understanding of Western heritage. Again, Judeo Christian, Western heritage, timeless values. You gotta be careful. They see how they're trying to slip this stuff in. Oh man, I'm glad my kids are not there. That's all I gotta say. Okay, now let's read the bad. Okay, critics, including teachers' unions and civil rights groups, raised several concerns. Potential for indoctrination. hmm Critics argue that the objective truth is often a code for specific political or religious viewpoints, potentially erasing the lived experiences of marginalized groups. Exactly. How can you tell the whole truth when you are specifically excluding those groups and their experiences? Diversion of funds. The principle of money allowing the child is seen by many as a move to defund public schools in favor of private religious institutions. Vague standards. Terms like ideological fads or the good, true, and beautiful are subjective. Opponents fear this vagueness will lead to book bans or censoring of history, which, by the way, Florida's already been doing that. As a matter of fact, some of the materials that they tried to use as an argument for this Phoenix doctrine, uh, these materials were indeed uh, 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 swatted away before they could reach schools in Florida. So the book ban stuff's already happening, the sensory stuff's already happening. And again, very interesting to see that our fearless leader is supporting this move. Political motivation, because it was authored by the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025. Remember, many see it as a partisan tool rather than a neutral education improvement. Yes. That's what I got there. Yes, yes. Okay, now, one last thing. Okay, last thought. Malala Yousafzai, young Pakistani Nobel Peace Prize winner. Taliban pew-pewed her in the dome, but that didn't stop her. She went all around the world traveling, doing her best to fight people like the Taliban, right? My wife and I, a long time ago, we went to see her, and one of the things that really stuck to me was how said that groups like the Taliban, they go after education. Stuck with me. So whenever I see anything attacking education or watering it down or suppressing information, trying to steer our kids toward an ideology, I think about what she said. Pause at your leisure. Quotes from her on this topic. I'll just read a couple. Uh, Power of knowledge. The extremists are afraid of books and pens. The power of education frightens them. They are afraid of women. Education as a global right. Education is education. We should learn everything, and then choose which path to follow. Indeed, education is neither Eastern nor Western. Remember what we just saw earlier. It is, say it with me, human. Like and share if you like what I'm saying. Comment if you do or don't. Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you later.